Imagine building a nation in a place where the ocean never agreed to leave. In much of the world, land is something people settle on. In the Netherlands, land is something people engineered. Today, more than 17 million people live in a country where water is not just a feature of the landscape, it's an ever-present force pressing against it. Neighborhoods, highways, greenhouses, data centers, train lines, and entire city centers sit at or below sea level. If the pumps stopped and the barriers failed, vast sections of the country would slowly begin to fill. This isn't theoretical. It's geography. The Netherlands occupies the delta where major European rivers, the Rhine, the Meuse, and the Scheldt, complete their long journeys and empty into the North Sea. By the time these rivers arrive, they've collected rainfall and meltwater from mountains and plains across the continent. When storms roll through Central Europe or snow melts in the Alps, the water doesn't stay there. It moves west. And the west is low. Very low. Large portions of the country sit at or below sea level, not because the ocean rose overnight, but because this landscape has always been a meeting point between river sediment, tides, and peat marshes. It was never stable ground in the way rocky highlands are stable. Left alone, much of it would be wetlands, saturated, shifting, and periodically flooded. But the Dutch did not leave it alone. Over centuries, they began reshaping the delta. First with simple earthen mounds to keep their homes above floods. Then with dikes to hold back tides. Then with windmills to drain waterlogged land. And eventually with vast pumping systems, storm surge barriers, artificial islands, and engineered coastlines. They didn't just defend against water. They reorganized it. Water in the Netherlands is channeled, redirected, measured, lifted, and released according to plan. Rain that falls on a street may be pumped into a canal. Canal water may be transferred into a lake. Lake water may be discharged into the sea, but only when tides allow it. It's a choreography of gates, levees, and sensors operating day and night. Even the country's major infrastructure exists inside this carefully balanced system. Amsterdam's airport rests in a drained lakebed. Rotterdam's massive port operates at the edge of river and sea. Agricultural regions that help feed Europe grow crops on land that was once open water. None of it is accidental. Yet the challenge is intensifying. Sea levels are rising. Storm surges are becoming more extreme. Rivers are experiencing heavier peak flows during intense rainfall events. The margin for error is shrinking. The very systems that once relied on gravity increasingly depend on constant pumping and advanced forecasting. The Netherlands faces a question few countries confront so directly. How long can you hold a coastline in place? But here's the remarkable part. The Dutch approach has shifted from simply resisting water to designing with it. Instead of building ever higher walls alone, they are widening rivers to give floodwater space. They are creating overflow zones that double as nature reserves. They are experimenting with floating neighborhoods and amphibious houses that rise when water levels rise. The philosophy is evolving from keep water out at all costs, to make room for water without surrendering the land. Because in the Netherlands, water is not an occasional disaster. It is a permanent neighbor. This country exists not because geography allowed it to, but because engineering, governance, and long-term planning made it possible. Every generation inherits the same responsibility. Maintain the system, improve it, and prepare for a future where the sea presses harder. The real story isn't just about dikes or dams. It's about a society that chose to turn vulnerability into design and built one of the most advanced water management systems on Earth. And the experiment is still ongoing. The war that built a country. The Netherlands was not shaped by calm rivers or gentle tides. It was forged in the aftermath of catastrophe. For centuries, water arrived not as scenery, but as an executioner. Each major flood forced a decision: adapt or disappear. One of the earliest recorded disasters struck in 1421, the St. Elizabeth's flood. After relentless rainfall and violent storm surges, fragile dikes gave way. Water tore through settlements without warning. Villages vanished. Farmland dissolved into open marsh. Entire communities were erased from maps. What is now the Biesbosch wetland remains a living scar from that event, land permanently surrendered to water. Thousands are believed to have died, though history never captured the full toll. 3 centuries later, in 1717, nature struck again. The Christmas flood battered the northern Netherlands, along with parts of Germany and Denmark. A brutal storm surge overwhelmed coastal defenses in a single winter night. More than 2,000 Dutch citizens were killed. Livestock drowned in the tens of thousands. Homes were splintered. The sea left nothing untouched. But it was the disaster of 1953 that permanently changed the country's future. On the night of January 31st, a fierce North Sea windstorm collided with a high spring tide. The combination produced a surge stronger than the aging dikes were ever meant to withstand. Barriers failed across the southwest. Water rushed inland with unstoppable force. By morning, over 1,800 people were dead. Nearly 50,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed. Farmland was poisoned by salt water. Families lost homes, livelihoods, and generations of stability in a matter of hours. The tragedy was devastating, but it became a turning point. Leaders understood something fundamental. The traditional patchwork of centuries-old dikes could no longer guarantee survival. Incremental repairs were not enough. A complete redesign of national water defense was required. From that moment forward, the Netherlands entered a new era, one defined not by reacting to floods, but by engineering against them. Making land where there was none. When people say the Dutch reclaimed land from the sea, it is not metaphorical. They quite literally removed water from entire regions and converted seabed into solid ground. This process, known as poldering, became one of the most distinctive features of Dutch engineering. A polder is land enclosed by protective dikes. Once sealed off from surrounding water, pumps remove everything trapped inside, until what remains is dry, usable terrain. But reclaimed land is never truly secure. Rain falls. Groundwater rises. Rivers seep inward. Without constant drainage, many polders would revert to lakes. For centuries, windmills powered this system. Their rotating blades drove mechanical pumps that lifted water into higher canals, where it could flow safely away. Those iconic structures were not decorative, they were survival machines. As technology advanced, steam, diesel, and electric pumping stations replaced them. Today, massive facilities operate continuously, some capable of moving thousands of liters of water every second. The system never sleeps. One of the most ambitious examples of reclamation is Flevoland, the Netherlands' youngest province, officially established in 1986. Just a century ago, it did not exist. Engineers drained vast sections of the former Zuiderzee, transforming open water into over 1,400 square kilometers of new land. Cities, farms, and forests now stand where waves once rolled. Yet polders carry inherent danger. Because the land inside sits lower than the water outside, any breach can become catastrophic in minutes. Which is why polders are only part of the defense. The armor, dikes and barriers. If reclaimed land is the heart of Dutch expansion, dikes are its armor. The Netherlands maintains one of the most extensive flood defense networks in the world. More than 17,000 kilometers of primary and secondary dikes. Together, they shield millions of people from the North Sea, major rivers, and inland lakes. Modern dikes are not simple walls of earth. They are layered structures of sand, clay, and stone, designed to resist pressure, erosion, wave impact, and even seismic activity. Many are reinforced with advanced monitoring systems. Sensors track moisture, movement, and structural stability in real time. Among the most iconic is the Afsluitdijk, a 32-kilometer dam completed in 1932. By sealing off the volatile Zuiderzee, it transformed a flood-prone saltwater inlet into the freshwater IJsselmeer. This single act reshaped the country's geography and made large-scale land reclamation projects like Flevoland possible. The Afsluitdijk is more than infrastructure. It functions as a highway, a cycling route, and a national symbol. Today, it is being strengthened with new pumping stations and storm surge gates to withstand rising sea levels and increasingly powerful storms. And it is only one component of a vast, interconnected system. Across the Netherlands, dikes are continuously inspected and upgraded. Water boards, some of the oldest democratic institutions in the country, oversee maintenance with precision. Nothing is left to assumption. Because history has already shown what happens when maintenance fails. A nation that learned from water. The Dutch story is not simply one of engineering, it is one of memory. Every disaster left lessons written in loss. Every reconstruction became more ambitious than the last. Floods that once erased communities eventually forced the creation of one of the most advanced water management systems on Earth. The Netherlands survives not because water stopped threatening it, but because each generation decided that surrender was not an option. The battle with water continues, but it is no longer fought with desperation. It is fought with design.